I don't care what level you're talking about when it comes to one-on-one combat sports. An 11-fight win streak is pretty impressive no matter how you spin it. That's what Martin Buday has right now. 12-1 in his career. Paul, his 4th UFC appearance. He has a win on Dana White's Contender Series. He is that hulking heavyweight that is really tough to handle and known more for the grappling instead of the heavy hands. We'll see what he does tonight with Josh Parisian on the other side.
Absolutely massive heavyweight, but stays very composed on the feet, doesn't over move too much, right? Plots forward like a heavyweight. He knows how to fight with that frame. And I was watching some of his fights the other day, and hands always held high, and he's got knockouts on his record, obviously, because when you're that big, I don't care who you are or how good of a kickboxer you are, you land a clean shot, you're going to put people down. And then he's got the grappling, the wrestling, and the submission game to follow it up. Just a big, massive guy. Parisian recognizes that, right? He knows that he's in there with a very large guy. He's going to have to use his footwork. He's going to have to use that movement.
I mean, Buday is literally the definition of physical peak male performance, if you ask me. Look, he really does make you think, like, people think, oh, this big guy can't go long. This big guy will not be able to go hard for 15 minutes. He has debunked that thought on so many different levels. This guy will fight to a decision. He fights with a great pace. He does so many things well when he's inside the octagon. But even in that, Fitzy, in his last fight, he got the win, and he did win very good. He was mad at the pace that he fought at. He thought he should do more. This is a big dude with a big gas tank, and he always looks to prove that when he's in the octagon.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with his performance, albeit in victory against Jake Collier. That came in April. He wants to push the pace more. He's worked on his conditioning ahead of this matchup with Josh Parisian. And here is Josh Parisian out of Michigan, UFC appearance number 6. He fought on the Contender Series fight twice. He fought on The Ultimate Fighter. Kind of was around the block, and he's carved out a nice little home, Paul, and he also tipped the scales at 266 pounds. So both of these guys hitting the limit as to what you can step in the octagon with.
Yeah, be careful. They're by the fence.
They'll
here
get
tonight,
tested
guys.
on the wall.
It's going to be tested. Yeah, and you know, Parisian talked a lot about the mental side of things in our fighter meetings and how he really had to focus on, you know, getting out of his own way and getting the negative thoughts, and even if they do come into his mind, that it's okay, they're just thoughts. It doesn't mean that it's going to manifest. It doesn't mean it's going to happen if he starts thinking negatively. And living more in the moment, and he really feels he wants to fight more free, right? We've seen some of that unorthodox striking from Parisian early in his career. On the Contender Series, winning by spinning back fist. He's capable of some pretty exciting striking inside of the octagon. But, you know, he talked about, DC, I thought I should look cleaner. I thought I should be more like X, Y, or Z. And he let what people thought, oh, when you're at this level, you got to look a certain way. It's like, no, man, what got you here is you being you.
Yeah, absolutely. And he said, just get rid of the imposter syndrome. He goes, I don't have to feel like I have to pretend that I belong here. I know I belong here. And even though he lost the last fight, he said he thought that he did enough to win, and he felt like he was more present. And he'll be even more present tonight inside the octagon.
Older than Martin Buday, who's on an 11-fight win streak. Takes 66 pounds. Parisian with 2.
And now, fight fans, here we go with our next fight tonight. 3 rounds in the UFC heavyweight division. Introducing to you first, fighting out of the blue corner. His background, jiu-jitsu. At 6 feet 4 inches tall, he weighed in officially 266 pounds. In 13 fights, he holds a record of 12 victories with 1 defeat. Fighting out of Trnava, Slovakia, here is Martin Buday! And across the octagon stands his opponent, fighting out of the red corner. He's a striker, also standing 6 feet 4 inches tall. He too weighed in 266 pounds and in 21 fights has 15 wins. With 6 losses, fighting out of Escanaba, Michigan, here is Josh Parisian! And your referee in charge of the action is Herb D.
All right, Martin Buday on that win streak, minus 200 as the betting favorite. Minty Betts is on hand with her take.
Brendan, you know, I love a good heavyweight fight, and I usually like to bet unders in this division, but I'm going to approach this one differently. Martin Buday, a $2 favorite. We can comfortably assume he's going to have most of the control time, but he is powerful and also very familiar with fights, getting to the judges' scorecards. It's going to be sweat, but I'm going over 2.5 rounds at minus 150.
All right, we'll see. Over bettors holding their breath on this one.
Yeah. Well, if you watch Buday fight, right, generally the fights do go a little longer.
Well, he has gone the distance in each of his last 2 victories, and his other victory of the UFC came in the third round against Chris Barnett. Parisian stringing together a combination early on.
Stands first.
Parisian's forward into him right away.
Walk with your right hand, Joshua. Behind that jab, buddy.
Buday just bullying him back, and he lands. And now Buday is starting to find a hook for some big shots.
Parisian trying to punch his way back,
swinging back, eats a knee.
I mean, Buday's fighting with a much faster pace tonight. He heard Minty.
I was just going to say.
Oh!
Look out. Parisian trying to keep him close to mitigate the damage. He's got to get on his bike here with Buday right in his face.
Well, you talk about Buday. Look at the way he approaches Parisian. When they were in their space, oh! Look, Paul, hands always up. That's why that spinning back fist didn't work.
Yeah, he's clean, right? I mean, it's
very clean.
Fancy, powerful punches. He does use his knees really well. We've seen that in his fights before. I think on the Contender Series, he might have ended it with a knee. Don't quote me on that.
I think you're right, Paul. When he fought Lorenzo Hood, it was a knee along the fence.
Yes, yeah. In a very similar position to this.
Yes.
You get them hurt, they start leaning over, and he finds that.
I mean, Parisian seems like he's tired already.
Held up by the fence right now. Not even 2 minutes in. He's wearing some damage on the forehead.
There you go. Now pray with your right and let's turn him, buddy.
Uppercut gets through for Buday.
Man, Buday's such a grinder in there, dude. He's so big. Could you imagine carrying that big son of a gun on you
No.
the whole time? It's terrible.
I could not. You can, I guess. Have you been in there with guys like this?
Yeah, but they were generally carrying my little fat behind. Check that.
A labored kick, though, from Parisian. He's telegraphing a lot of these shots.
Yeah, he's just throwing. He's got to take his time.
Wow,
Oh, and a jab.
Guy looking sharp in here, leaning out of the way, covering up nice from these counter shots from Parisian.
These knees are killing Parisian, man. These knees to the body are doing a lot of damage to Josh Parisian.
Now let's turn, buddy. Push off that long turn, Joshua.
And Buday wants to keep it on the feet.
Oh,
It's the pace is really high for Parisian. He's struggling with this pace, Paul.
he is struggling, and that's one of the things that he kind of credits himself with, is being able to hold a much higher pace. But Buday just walks forward, eats through these punches. And
That's probably the worst part about Buday. He's so big that you hit him and it doesn't hurt him.
And in this 25-foot octagon, there's
nowhere to go.
room to go. Buday just making life miserable for Josh Parisian through the first 3.5 minutes of this fight. Parisian reverses, though.
Yes, very good by Parisian. But you remember this in the Barnett fight, right? Buday hurt him so much and wore him down so much that when Barnett took the illegal knee, he stayed down.
He seems so much stronger, too.
Yeah.
See, he's kind of throwing Parisian around like he's a middleweight in there.
He's going to go Kimura here. He's got to go knee over the head. He's got to get his right knee over the head of Parisian, but Parisian's up against the octagon side. You cannot give him space to step over the top. Oh, side control.
Now he might be able to get that right leg in the
There
position.
it is. Now, there you go. He's in trouble. Yep. He's in trouble.
Talk to me.
Oh, man, and that will do it. Martin Buday gets that UFC stoppage he has been waiting for. He locks up the right arm of Josh Parisian, and the winning streak is now 12 in a row for the Slovakian.
That's his best performance by far. He came out here with an urgency. He came out here like he knew, okay, I've gotten decisions. I'm on a win streak here in the UFC, but I definitely want to show everybody that I'm capable of being a finisher. I'm capable of being dominant. Let's take a look at some of the replays. His stand-up looked very crisp. He was countering well when Parisian did try to fight back. Look at his reversal. Digs that underhook, just cranks him to the side, gets down into side control.
So strong.
And just uses that weight, uses that strength, and it locks up this Kimura. And look, he gets to the side first. He doesn't have the angle he wants, but he knows now, okay, this is going to give me the room that I need to squeeze my knee. And then let's listen in here.
There's a verbal tap from Parisian
Yeah, you didn't see. I didn't see his arm. I think his arm was stuck. But take a listen here.
Talk to me.
Yeah, he verbally said the fight was done, recognized that his arm was going to get broken if he did not tap.
And the only other time Josh Parisian has been submitted was by Kimura